This story is told from the perspective of Undertale Sands. It was the middle of the night. I was walking home after getting a bite to eat at McDonald's. Sure, I have food at home, but nothing beats a good 6-piece chicken nuggets and some fries. So yeah, I got a bit of a craving. I didn't expect though for a nighttime snacking to suddenly turn into a traumatizing event. I was almost home since it only took a couple more turns. Suddenly, a sound caught my attention. It sounded like a high-pitched whistling. I looked over to see where the source was, and my eyes landed on a silhouette of a person on the other side of the road. He looked taller than me even from a distance and his head was slouched. I couldn't see any other features of him since it was dark. It's as if the shadow completely covered him from the front. He was weirdly standing under a street light. Despite it illuminating him, I still couldn't figure out what he looked like specifically. Obviously, I thought nothing of it at first. I mean, maybe he was whistling to some stray dog? But as I turned away, about to leave, I heard that whistling again. I quickly turned to look at the guy. He was weirdly swaying just a bit from left to right, as if mimicking a drunk person. I was a bit annoyed. Did this guy think I took a couple of shots or something? I thought at first. I couldn't help but yell out to the guy, "What I do ain't your business, buddy," and just stomped off. I thought that would be the end of that. After walking for a couple of minutes, I suddenly hear what sounded like an extra pair of footsteps mixed with my own. I still kept walking, trying to shake the thought that someone was actually following me. My paranoia was building up. I began to speed walk just a bit and it sounded like the footsteps were doing the same. It even sounded a bit closer and closer. I picked up the pace and then stopped immediately. The footsteps did not stop at the same time as I did. I could feel sweat bead up my head and my heart race. I was about ready to book it fast. But then the guy ran over and grabbed my arm with harsh force. He spun me around to face him. I was in complete shock from the forceful turn. But once I saw him, it's as if my soul had left my body. I was momentarily paralyzed with absolute fear. Staring back at me was a deep black mass. No matter how close I was, there were no features. Nothing. This thing was like one big shadow. Except he could actually touch you. I even felt this thing breathe heavily on me. I couldn't help but let out fearful whimpers. I felt like I was going to cry. What really sent me over the edge though, was when this thing forged a pair of bloodshot eyeballs from its own mass. The eyes staring right at me with shrunken pupils. Then, it started parting its lips, if they're even there, and exposed a large grin that stretched far wider than any human could physically be capable of. Its teeth were crooked and a ghastly looking yellow. Its pink gums exposed. I had enough. I completely lost it and screamed. I pulled my arm as hard as I could to make this thing let go, even pushing whatever it was away. Once I was able to get loose, even hearing my sleeve get ripped off, I did not care. I ran as fast as possible, praying I would reach a busy street filled with people. I did not look back. At least not until I finally made it to a crowd of people. I almost got run over by a taxi. But honestly, I just didn't care. I was just relieved and panting heavily. Some people stared at me nervously. Some wondered if I was okay. Before I answered though, I needed to make sure it didn't follow me. Turning to the other side of the street where I ran from, I could slightly see a shadowy figure vanish behind the wall of a building. I let out a sigh of relief. I decided to lie and say I was fine, not wanting anyone to think I'm crazy. There was just no way I could explain to people what I saw. I decided to take a taxi back home. There was no way in hell I was walking after that. When I got home, my roommate wondered what on earth happened to my sleeve. Before I could answer, I heard the doorbell ring. I was still shaken up from my encounter earlier, but since my roommate was there, I thought there was nothing to worry about. I opened the door and looked around. No one was there. But when I looked down, my eyes widened. My torn-off sleeve was there on the welcome carpet. It had some sort of note pinned to it that reads,
"See you on your next walk. I promise I won't let go next time."
with a smiley face drawn at the end. That was the last time I ever walked at night. And if I had to, I refused to go alone.